All right, well, let's switch gears here to another important issue just to the south of us, some of the important political developments in Mexico. And we are very, very honored to be joined by one of the most fantastic journalists out there, Alina Duarte, who is an independent journalist and also a senior research fellow at the Council on Hemispheric Affairs. Alina, thank you so much for being back with us.
Thanks for inviting me. My pleasure to be here with you all the times that we need to be here. So thank you again.
No, thank you. A lot happening in Mexico. I want to start here with the lithium issue. Obviously, this is a major issue given that lithium is the main, the ingredient for the electric battery or batteries for electric cars. Mexico recently, I believe, nationalized lithium. Maybe just explain to us, what exactly happened first, and then also what it means for Mexico as a country.
Well, it's a long debate. I must say that I'm really happy to see these kind of debates now in Mexico under AMLO's administration. It's something that I couldn't have imagined 2 years ago that something like this would happen. There are two specific moments about this discussion. The first one was the one that we, or maybe everyone, saw at the Congress last Sunday. It was the congressmen tried to approve an electrical reform. That was the first reform. There's the electrical reform and the miner reform about the lithium. So they wanted to approve this electrical reform that did not nationalize the electrical industry. And even when we were not asking for the nationalization, the Mexican state should have the control of 54%, 56% of the national the electrical industry. And the initiative, the private initiative could participate with 44%. It was enough. It was enough to start a big campaign against AMLO's administration. So it wasn't approved at the Congress a week ago. We saw that this reform had 275 votes in favor, 223 against, and it was a debate that lasted 12 hours, and it was a big mobilization outside the Congress. It was just amazing, but they needed more than 300 voters, so it didn't happen. The electrical reform didn't pass. So the next day, last Monday, we saw the president in the Mañanera, this conference that he gives all the mornings here in Mexico, sending a new initiative to the Congress, and then it passed to the Senate. It was this initiative about the lithium. Even when we had an article in our Constitution, of course, the 27th article that says that the ownership of the lands and waters included within the limits of the national territory corresponds originally to the nation, which has had and has the right to transfer ownership of them to individuals constituting private property. It was not enough. During the last decades, what we saw was just the neoliberal governments just giving our territory to the transnational, specifically to the US and Canadian enterprises and companies. So he was trying to nationalize, because we need to say that currently there are already companies exploring the lithium in our country, in the north of Mexico, basically. So with this reform, the Mexican government now reserves the right to withdraw the companies, the permits, to exploit the lithium. We know that this is one of the most important minerals nowadays, and it costed a coup against Evo Morales in Bolivia. And also, I was so happy to listen to President López Obrador saying that, remembering the coup in Bolivia. We have heard a lot of investigations, the declarations of Evo Morales saying that a very important part of the coup in October 2019 was the lithium. And we remember also Elon Musk saying, just deal with it. We're going to give the coups that we want. So that's why it's so important, this discussion. I think this is the most important discussion that we have had under these 3 years with AMLO. And I think he has been radicalized, his speech, but also his actions. So I'm really happy at seeing these kind of debates now in Mexico.
Alina, is there some sort of discussion also about the potential ramifications? Because like you just mentioned, you did have Elon Musk threaten to coup any government that takes over its own lithium. Lithium is obviously a very important resource that many people with power want to get their hands on for very cheap. So is there a discussion of how to deal with the potential blowback for a decision like this, which is a very important decision, of course, but the reality that we live in is one of imperialism. And certainly there are forces, particularly in America, who in the US and North America and Canada as well, who are looking at this and who are very upset about it, I'm sure.
I mean, the government has been always saying about the role of the corporate media here in Mexico and the international role that I have been during the last months specifically. They've been attacking AMLO's administration because of this reform. It's not a coincidence. We've seen exactly the same in Bolivia. We've seen exactly the same with the oil in Venezuela and everywhere. So now it's really important what you're asking, because what we saw in Bolivia in 2006 after the nationalization of the resources, it was also a new company of the state, like a national company of to explore and to explode the lithium. And it's gonna be the same, exactly the same. Actually, that's one of the arguments, quote unquote, of the opposition, say that we want to be a dictatorship like in Bolivia and in Venezuela, because we are following a kind of following these steps, building our own company. So we're gonna have, that's the plan of the government, to build a new company ruling by the Mexican state for the lithium. And it's pretty important to say that, because we are not only taking control of the lithium to give it again to the transnationals or to Canadian companies or something like that. So we are going to be the ones who are going to explore. And that's why it's so like, I think the campaign against AMLO, it's so cruel. It's amazing. The Washington Post, the New York Times are every single day just attacking AMLO's administration with these so-called journalists that they are writing every single day against the administration. So it's pretty important to say, and also it's pretty important to say that I haven't seen this kind of debates in the streets in my country here in Mexico for the last decade. This is the first time that you go out in the streets and you talk to people, to everyone, and everyone. It's just amazing. Everyone is just debating about the what's next in this country. AMLO has, and it's also pretty important to say that he has 70%, even in conservative polls, he has 65% of approval. And, after a pandemic, it's just something that it's almost impossible to have a president with 70% of approval in this country, and with this kind of reforms, and people are just debating through social networks, in the streets, are now again mobilizing. And it's also I think important to say that this is a moment very critical for Morena, the party in power, because they couldn't approve this first reform for having the control of the electrical industry in this country, because they were pretty sure that they were gonna win in 2021 all the Congress. They didn't. Now people are asking them just to reconsider the candidates, to reconsider the strategy, to move forward with this so-called fourth transformation in this country. So it's a very important moment for the life here in a political way in Mexico, and everyone is talking about this. AMLO has a lot of support. It happened. A referendum happened 2 weeks ago, and he won with more of 90% of approval. It was also just something that couldn't happen before in this country. It was the first time that we had a referendum like this, and almost 16 million people voted. And I mean, there's a critical moment here that we just can go forward for more, not only reforms, but in every single way we just can go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, certainly I think the concept of the fourth transformation is certainly very much in swing. And, you know, Alina, you have been covering for many years the entire Latin American scene. I mean, where does what's happening in Mexico now, do you think, fit into the broader moment we're seeing, sort of what seems to be a resurgence of progressive activity across the Central and South America?
I hope so. AMLO, what I was saying in foreign policy, in the Mexican foreign policy, we've seen a radical change. I remember AMLO 3 years ago saying that the best foreign policy was the local, the national policy. And now we're seeing an AMLO that is strengthening relations with, even not maybe with Venezuela, because it's, the campaign against Venezuela, as in all over the world, is the same here in Mexico. And but I've seen a Mexican president now trying to establish like a deeper relationships with Honduras, for example, with Xiomara Castro, with Alberto Fernandez in Argentina, even with Russia under the pandemic, and China. It was. We got a lot of vaccines from Russia and China, and also Mexico sent a lot of vaccines to Central America during the pandemic. So I've seen a radical. Even if you listen to the speech that AMLO gave during the anniversary of the Simon Bolivar last year, it was, I think, the most radical speech he has gave during his administration, saying that we need a Latin American or a continental organization, a free trade area for Latin America. He was questioning the OAS. In the OAS, our ambassador, she's amazing. She's always questioning Almagro. So a lot has changed during these 3 years. And now after the referendum, after this reform, I hope that something more radical becomes here in Mexico. And I think it's going to happen. AMLO is going to travel to Central America next month, also to Argentina. AMLO, do you remember the only country that he has visited was the US, or first with Trump and now with Biden, and he hasn't gone to another country. So it says a lot that now he wants to have a meeting with Xiomara Castro, with Alberto Fernandez in person. I think he knows now the importance of Latin America. So I hope that we can see a more radical foreign policy of Mexico, and that we can see also the start of a new organization. They were questioning the OAS, and they made the CELAC the first organization to make relationships with the South. So let's see what happens. I'm really confident that something good for good is gonna happen now with these 3 years, the last 3 years of his administration.
Mm-hmm. Well, Alina, as always, we really appreciate you, joining us for sure. As always, I just want to commend you for your shirt. Fantastic shirt, by the way. But definitely, being able to inform us on everything in Mexico and all across Latin America. I hope people actually check out your interview with Evo Morales, that he spoke about this lithium issue. But thanks again. Really appreciate you joining us here on the Freedom Side.
Thanks for inviting me. It's always, as I said at the beginning, it's a pleasure to collaborate with you guys. I admire you a lot. So hope I can see you both here in Mexico reporting from the ground.
We're looking forward to it.